Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vegan Tour Guide podcast with your host, Mike Knight, where we'll bring you great information about a vegan plant-based diet. It doesn't matter if you've been vegan for years, part-time vegan, or just gathering more information. This podcast is for you. Thanks again for joining, and let's get today's tour started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vegan Tour Guide. This is Mike Knight. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Thanks so much for tuning in. If this is your first time, thank you so much for joining us. And definitely want to have you back a whole lot more. And hopefully you will help us spread the word after you heard this by encouraging others to go to iTunes, Stitcher, and all the cool, fun places to do the subscribing and downloading the episodes and the other episodes. So go check them out. But really do appreciate it. For those of you coming back, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you helping spread the word and getting some new people here. Got a great show today lined up. Got Amy Webster, Amy with the Humane Society of the U.S. She's the Food and Nutrition Coordinator. Amy brings a lot of cool information about her personal journey, what it was like for her, kind of where it all started and how just it developed, what she does for Humane Society itself. Plus, Amy shares some other cool stuff that she uses herself in her daily life of, plant-based vegan that we can all apply to ours. So really appreciate that. So want everybody to sit back, relax, and get ready. And here's Amy.
Okay, Amy. Welcome to the Vegan Tour Guide. How are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm great. I'm actually going to like a state of craziness. I just can't believe it. I mean, it's like February here in North Carolina, and it's like 75, 78 degrees, and I don't know what to do right now with myself.
Oh, no. It sounds really bad because it means you might be in for a really rough summer.
Yes. That is, and that is what people have been saying, and I'm like, oh my gosh. It's one of those things like right now, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And then, of course, you and I circle back in June, July, and you're like, Emma, you were right. I should have moved. I should have moved up, like Canada or something like that before it was too late.
For many reasons, right?
Yeah. Well, so what is going on? How are you?
Good. I'm in Seattle, so the weather here is very mild and nice, and we have a rare sunny day today, which is always welcome.
I always hear that. I've never been to Seattle, but that's I guess that's the thing I always hear is that a bunch of rain all like that. But I've heard it's also a very beautiful place.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and the hidden secret here is that it does rain mostly through the summer, most days. But that means that in the winter it rains. In the summer, it means that we have this beautiful, lush, green, scenery everywhere. It really makes for a beautiful summer. So we have 3 months or so where there are no rain days, and it's gorgeous. And people don't realize that. They never think of that when they think of Seattle.
Ah, very nice. Very nice.
If you're ever going to visit, you should come during the summer. And it's a great place for vegans, too. There's tons of vegan food here.
That is awesome. I'm doing the best, like in my local market of Charlotte, North Carolina. We're getting more and more. It's awesome. We got a groundswell of people and all like that. Of course, as you know, that's kind of, if you will, the cool, unique domino effect in life that has put you and I now in touch with each other. Is via the Humane League here, and then Christy comes and she's involved, and also as a keynote speaker. I talk with her, and then she's like, "You've got to talk to Amy." And so puts us in touch. And so, it's a small, cool world like that. And so we're getting, more and more restaurants and stuff like that. So it's nice. It's growing.
Yeah, it's so true. You're right about the domino effect. And we have, we have a very connected world through people who are activists and vegans and vegetarians and even flexitarians. It's a really big, it's a growing world.
It is, and it's so cool because it's, I've talked to people about this before. The thing I like about when I talk to people about, plant-based vegan, and I always try and use even the word lifestyle, because the unique thing is, irregardless of how people start, and that's in a few minutes, I want to hear about your journey, of course. It's like, even if you start out, quote, on the diet, if you're going for health or something, it's the one change you make without really any more effort makes all these changes. It makes, because of what you're doing, then lends itself to being a compassion-centered thing, even without you maybe even realizing it at times, but that's the cool thing. And you're also helping out the environment, of course, animals. shoot, you help the economy, which is one thing, people sometimes don't even realize. And so that's what I love about it. And kind of like you said, the nice thing is everyone really is open to helping share the message, share information. And so that is one thing with everybody being so receptive that I've just loved.
Yeah, it's so true. We do have a beautiful community, and you're right. We all have different stories and different paths that brought us to this point, and we can learn so much from each other. And sometimes those lessons are hard, but it's all good to keep learning.
Exactly. So I guess leading in then, tell us about for your journey, kind of when was it stages or whatever that led you just originally like you're just plant-based vegan first in your personal life? How did that happen?
Well, I, like many people in our movement, I started as a young person just like any normal American girl. I loved animals. I was always the person who wanted to play with dogs or, get down with the frogs. And, I loved every animal I could get my hands on.
Yep.
And when I got to be in high school, I realized, that I really wanted to do more than just love animals. I really wanted to put that into action. So I started to volunteer at a wildlife rescue. It's actually a wildlife rehab center this is in Toledo, Ohio. And I learned so much from my experience there, but this was just a very small wildlife rehabilitation center that took in, a modest amount of wild animals and had a little tiny center. I went on to become their first part-time paid employee after I left for the Navy, and then I came back. But during my time there, the woman who ran it, she really kind of challenged me and educated me on other animal issues. So looking further than just dogs and cats and wildlife. These are the animals that we associate with most of us in our day. I could look out my window and see wild animals, and many of us have companion animals right here in our houses. But we don't think about the animals past that, really. So she really challenged me to think more about that. And I went vegetarian right out of high school, and I knew then that it was the right thing for me. That was not hard for me. It wasn't a big meat eater anyway. I didn't always love it, and kind of knew it didn't feel right for me. It was kind of gross. But then kind of connecting my love for animals with what I was eating really made sense for me, even in high school. So that wasn't so hard, but I was a vegetarian for quite a while before I went vegan, and I kind of, when I talk to my friends, I always say I'm embarrassed about that because it was way too long, where I should have known better, and I just always thought I was doing. I think many vegetarians think this way. I always thought I was doing the most I could possibly do for animals, and it wasn't true because sometimes now I can argue that eating dairy products can be worse than eating meat. And I mean, not that we need to argue which is worse, but I find I've learned a lot about the dairy industry. And so I was a vegetarian for quite a while, and I became I went to the military, and I was a trained medic in the military. So when I got out, I worked in the civilian world as a medical person. I did that for quite a while, but I really longed for working with animals, and I still volunteered with local shelters and went back to the Wildlife Rehab Center when I got out of the military, and I loved working there with animals and putting my medical knowledge to use for animals. But I realized that I wasn't doing the best for the animals because, like, when I worked at the veterinary clinic, that's for profit. It wasn't really helping the greater good of animals that I wanted to. So I just basically I switched over to veterinary medicine, wasn't quite happy there, and then I realized I have to work for an animal rights group. So I went to work for a national animal rights group, was there for a few years, and really learned a lot. And when my eyes were open to a lot of things that I hadn't realized before or even thought of, I read a lot about dairy cows and what really happens to get the dairy products on our shelves and how horrible it is. I immediately gave up dairy and eggs, of course, the plight of chickens and cages. And, it wasn't hard once I started learning and my mind was open and I wanted to, absorb as much as I possibly could. So the more I learned, the better, the more actions I took toward, my changing my own diet. And it was really hard. I'll admit it was hard. Like when I first went vegan, I went vegan in 2004. And I had already been a vegetarian for a long time, so I understood how to make swaps or, changing your diet. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's clumsy. You're clumsy. You don't know what you're doing. So I understood that, I'm going to have to make some changes. It's not always going to be smooth and taste great. But, and this was in 2004, so we didn't have a lot of the products we do now. But I knew that it was the right thing to do, and when you're an ethical vegan, I think my just devotion to what I felt was right overcame any, taste preferences I had. So it became pretty easy for me. It wasn't that hard. And then, so then I went back to school. I left my job and I went back to school to become a teacher. I really was passionate about teaching. I love children, love teaching. And I went back and got my degree in elementary education. And I found a great job. This is when I moved out to Washington. I found a great job where I was able to combine my degree with an elementary education with my love for animals. I worked for an animal shelter here outside of Seattle that has an education department. And I was able to, talk to people about the connection between animals and our food. But really, the shelter worked on dogs and cats and wildlife, and it was really hard for me because I wanted to take it beyond that.
Yeah.
And it was a really good chance for me to try. When I did classrooms, I talked to kids about how they treated animals, but I really longed to talk about farm animals. And the more I realized that I think a goal for me in my life is to really help the animals that need it the most. And if you think about it, if I were to go outside right now on downtown Seattle and I surveyed 100 people and I asked them, do you think that dogs and cats deserve fair treatment and humane, living standards and, to be protected? Every one of them likely would agree and say, yes, of course, dogs and cats deserve protection and certain rights, of course. But if I surveyed that same 100 people, I would imagine that they eat meat because we, as a society, widely accept the horrible things that happen to farm animals. And when I realized that, I realized I wasn't doing all that I could do. So many people can work on behalf of dogs and cats and wildlife, but not many people work on behalf of farm animals, and I really had to do that. So that's when I really started looking for a job that challenged me, and that's when I found my job with the Humane Society of the United States, where I work now. And I'm in their food and nutrition team where, I know you talked to Christy Middleton, but we work with institutions all around the country to make really great changes. So it has been a journey, but this is where I feel like I can be the most effective because I'm combining my love for animals with my a really strong career path.
Very cool. Well, did you get a copy of my show questions beforehand? Because you literally went one by one over exactly. But that's awesome. I was tripping out. I was like,
I wish I had.
but that is so cool. Because again, I love hearing and love sharing, with the audience. Everyone's different paths, because to me, that is what it's all about, is that each of us has a different path how we got here. Some people came the health route. I've had multiple people on that, they fought, addiction, or it's just, problems within the family with health or health histories. And then other people the same way, it's been reversed. They came in, because of animals. And they saw the plight that was going on and wanted to do more. And they said, let's start a change and start it with me. And they knew that, the start for them, would be, going to a plant-based vegan diet to make that change. And, and a lot of people, I mean, it's neat, and it's just spreading the word. And that way people can identify. So I'm so glad you shared all that. Take, if you will, a little bit more, because, again, Christy and I touched on it a little bit, but with you being the food and nutrition coordinator, take a little bit through what you're doing and, kind of what the impacts you're trying to make. What are you trying to do with your position?
Well, I work in the Pacific Northwest, so I'm based in Seattle, but my region is Washington and Oregon primarily. And so I reach out to the schools, the colleges, universities, hospitals, prisons, in the two states that want to add more plant-based options to their menus. And really, it's a really great approach, because even if they some of the hospitals really don't have a lot of millennials who are coming through, or sometimes the schools have huge challenges because their hands are tied. They're really restricted by guidelines or budget. So they have some challenges, some serious challenges. But no matter who I'm talking to, they all agree that this is a movement, this is a move towards a healthier diet, and I get a lot of positive requests. There a lot of these schools are wanting to make changes. So any of the schools that contact me or that I contact that do want to make some changes and add more plant-based options, then I just get to work. We have some amazing culinary training programs that we offer for free, and those are probably one of the most popular things that I use as tools. We have a lot of marketing materials that we offer as well that are free, and that's very helpful, and I, of course, use a lot of those. But really, I think the most exciting thing that we do are these trainings, because we go into the schools, we can go into, K-12 schools or school districts, or into universities, or in hospitals, and we work with their staff, their food service staff, their chefs, their cooks, their registered dietitians, and we show them how to make delicious food. Because the idea is, of course, everyone wants to be healthier. You would like to have healthier options on your menu, but we know that it's just not going to, no one's going to eat that if it's not done well. And so we want to teach them. So we bring in one of our chefs. We have a chef that's on staff, and she is our chef instructor. We bring in a couple staff members, and we put on these really great culinary trainings. And the trainings show them how to make the food taste really good. A lot of times, we can take requests on certain ingredients. If there is an institution like a hospital that want to highlight lentils one month, or a school that's doing, just really wants to amp up their veggies, we can do that. We just incorporate them we have, huge database of recipes, and we can incorporate those into the training. And so that's really what my work is about. I contact and reach out to and respond to as many of these institutions around my region as I can.
Very cool. Well, let me ask you, because I'm sure in hearing that and hearing the institutions that you're working with and focusing on, people listening, I know there's people out there that all of a sudden starts getting their brains going on stuff, maybe people they know. They may even work in an institution like that. Where, kind of a side note here, but where can they reach out to? And I'll make sure and put this in the show notes. Kind of maybe directly to you, and you could point them maybe in the region, the right person. Do you mind, or is there maybe somewhere on the website?
Well, right. Well, like I said, my region is Washington and Oregon. So if anyone's in this area that is listening, I'm happy to reach out, even if it's not quite an institution. Sometimes we work with corporations or even caterers or whatever. We help anyone we can. Most of my work is with institutions, but we are always available. So my contact information, I'm Amy Webster, so it's awebster@humanesociety.org. And if you are not in this area in the Pacific Northwest, but you'd like, you work in the institution, food service industry, and you'd like more information, you can go to the humanesociety.org website. It's humanesociety.org/Meatless Monday. We also have a website that is more specific to our work, and that is forwardfood.org. And that's a great way. That's a great tool for where it kind of highlights more about what we do with our work. And if you shoot an email, there's an email page that you can contact us through the Meatless Monday page, through humanesociety.org website, and that will get you in touch with the right person in that region. But we have about, I want to say 13 of us, coordinators like myself around the country in all different areas. So each of us has our core area, our state or a couple of states, and then there are a few states that kind of are past that we will definitely respond to when needed. So I encourage anyone who's interested to reach out.
And there's a lot of great literature y'all have, like you said, that's up there on the websites. I know I went and looked at some myself, because there's even some stuff I was telling Christy that I'm trying to do here locally, some places I'm trying to get into, and it was very nice. I know she pointed me to a place that even had basically recipes I print off and take them that were like quantity, like 50 person, 100 person. And it was very cool to be able to even have that, to where when I go set up this meeting to go talk to them, I say, look, here you can break down what we think a cost would be for a meal, etc., based off of this. So yeah, it was a lot of great information y'all have posted.
Well, that's a really good point, Mike. We have, that's kind of what sets our program aside from others, is we have a giant database of recipes that anyone can access on our website, but we do a lot, we put a lot out for the bigger food service industry. So you're right, we have recipes that are made for bigger quantities just for food service. We have a cookbook that we sometimes give out. We have a meat-free guide that we have for individuals that has recipes designed for families, but then we also made one that is for the professionals in food service, which is perfect because then the recipes are at greater scale and, can be used by those food service professionals.
Nice. All right. So let's switch a little bit, and I want to hear now more about Amy and tell everybody just kind of what are your go-to meals? I always love hearing, for people so we can, what is your favorite meal? Even maybe a plant-based option, snacks, anything like that. What does your day look like?
Well, I am really on a kick right now where I love lentils. So I want to do everything I can with lentils. And in the winter, I'm a big soup person. So my favorite thing to make, if I'm going to be home for a day or two and so I can have leftovers, I love to make a pot of lentil soup. And it really is hearty because lentils are packed with proteins and they're amazing. They're legumes and, they're easy, versatile, and cheap. I buy them by the bulk as dry lentils, and then I just, soak them and cook them, and it's really super easy. But you can buy them in a can, too, and then I just add whatever I have. I have kale or, carrots and onion, whatever vegetables I have in my soup. So that's my favorite thing to make if I'm going to be home for a couple of days working from my office and, especially during the cold winter months. But I love salads, too, in the summertime, and chickpeas are one of my favorite salad toppers. So I can create any kind of a salad with whatever I have, whatever veggies I have, as long as I have a couple, if I have a can of chickpeas. That's my favorite kind of snack because I can add them to a salad. I can blend them up in the food processor with, garlic and make it into a hummus. Or I don't know if you've tried this or not, but I love to dry them, drain them and dry them, and then put them on a pan and with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper and roast them. And they make a great snack, especially if I'm going to be on the road. I can make some, roasted chickpeas and stick them in a little bowl, a little container, and take them on the road with me. And they're hearty, they're packed with protein and they satisfy. And you can make them in different flavors too. I've even made them with cinnamon and sugar, which makes them more of a sweet snack. So they're really good.
Oh my gosh! All right, so take me through again. All right, real quick. I love that. All right, so you take the chickpeas and just take them right out of a can, or is there? Because again, I'm very food and cooking challenged. I'm always very forward about that. So that sounds great. So again, you just take them out of the can, or you actually buy them not in a can?
Well, I buy them in the can.
Okay.
If I'm in a hurry because it's so easy. They're just as good. They're already soaked. They're already cooked. So you can just drain them, and I let them dry a little bit, and then I just kind of mix them up with some olive oil, salt, and pepper, and throw them on a pan and throw them in the oven for I think it's like 20 minutes at 400 degrees. It's really easy. I like to cook them a little extra because I like them crunchy.
Yeah.
But the other thing that is really fascinating is you can buy them dry, and they're really cheap. They're easy to store if they're dry. They're lighter. They're cheap, and you just soak them. I usually soak them like overnight, and then you cook them. So you do have to cook them and soak them in order to eat them. But if you buy them by the can, you can avoid those two steps. But the other thing that maybe you don't know, or maybe your listeners don't know, is when we drain a can of chickpeas, usually the liquid that comes out of the can that we usually pour down the drain, that liquid is called aquafaba. It's aqua for water, faba for bean. So it's the bean water from chickpeas that has protein in it, and it acts much like egg whites. So egg whites have protein, and chickpea juice has protein as well. So it's real thick and gooey. If you think about a can of chickpeas, when you drain it and the liquid goes down the drain, if you take that liquid, someone realized that if you beat it, like if you put it into a bowl with a mixer and you beat it, you gotta keep going for a while. I used to do it for like 8 minutes. But if you keep going, it kind of foams up and it turns into this kind of like it's airy and foamy and light. So then you can add a little bit of sugar to it and you can make a meringue. So that kind of substance turns into this light, fluffy You can make people. There's an entire cookbook just for aquafaba, and it's a great vegan option for a lot of things because it acts like an egg in many recipes. You can bake with it, but you can also make just standalone meringue cookies with it. You can make, key lime pie it acts just like any meringue. And what's better than egg whites is that you can, continually beat it with the blender or your mixer as long as you want, and it doesn't fold. Like egg whites, I think are a little delicate, but not the aquafaba. So anyway, I would encourage you to look into it because I've made meringue. That's one of my fun things to make, and they're light and airy. They're gluten-free because they're kind of like little cookies, but there's no flour or gluten or anything like that in them, and they're really amazing.
Listen, if I make my way out to Seattle, I'm coming by on meringue day. I'm going to find out. I will make sure I know exactly when meringue day is going to be, and I'm going to show up. I'll be that neighborhood kid. There's always that little neighborhood kid that just always knows when there's some fresh baked cookies or something. That'll be me. You'll get a knock at the door, and I'll be like, I heard you have some meringue.
Yes, they're amazing. I would love for you to do that. Let me know when you're coming to this side of the country, and I will make sure you have some.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, so what are some tips that you have? And I know you said, granted, it was a while back, when you actually went, fully to a vegan diet. And that is one thing I remind people now that are thinking about it now that listen to the show. Because a lot of people listen to the show, it's all across the board. Some people listen to the show are already plant-based vegan. Some people are, in the transition phase. And some people haven't really started. I get people that tell me they're listening to this to get ideas and understand and just get information. And so I tell them nowadays it is a lot kind of easier, I would say, because there's so many options now out there, and just ideas about recipes, like you said. I mean, just stuff that a while back nobody really experimented with the stuff, and so wasn't finding out. Now, like you just shared, cool things people didn't realize to make meringue, the aquafaba. But what tips would you give now people kind of transitioning, or even maybe you've seen people that have gone recently and feedback they gave? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, well, that's a really great question because you're right. There are so many people that are coming toward this from different perspectives. And, through my work, we really try to celebrate everyone, wherever they are. Some people are just trying to make some positive changes, and they're leaving meat off their plate once a week or even a whole day a week. Wherever they are, it's really good to always try new things. So I really, I would really say, the one thing is, when I was younger, a lot of people I grew up in the Midwest, we ate a lot of meat. So if people are trying to reduce meat, but they kind of like the taste for it, well, we're really lucky to be in this day and age because there are products for any kind of taste preference. So we have all kinds of frozen options. There's Field Roast is one of them that's here in Seattle that is an amazing company. Beyond Meat has one of the best faux chickens, but it's high in protein. It's made with pea protein. It's a gluten-free food, and they have a beefy crumble. They have like I said, the chicken strips that can be made into fajitas or any kind of dish that you would typically put a chicken.
Do you know where they have that?
Pieces in.
Do you know what I just found out this weekend? Witch Witch.
Oh,
I don't know if y'all have that out there. There's a chain of sub-stores called Witch Witch.
Oh, no.
And
I don't
my son and his buddies, they love getting on their bikes and they ride down there. So this Sunday he said, "Come on, Dad, let's go down." And I'm thinking, I'm not sure where I'm going to have a sub place. All of a sudden, look at this, Beyond Meat. It was the Beyond Meat. They have the Beyond Meat sub. It was awesome. It was very. I saw that.
That's good news.
Yeah, I was like,
what's the name of the store?
It's a funky name. It's called Witch Witch, like sandwich.
Okay.
I'm even trying to remember. I think it's I don't know how they spell it, to be blunt. Not sure.
Witch, like a sandwich, but which
exactly, like which sandwich or something. But it's
okay.
Yeah,
that's really
kind of cool.
I'm always so hopeful that the bigger chains will pick up, and really kind of normalize those plant-based meat options because I really think we're right around the corner from that. There are so many great products out there now that Match Meats is making an amazing burger. and it has come out by Hungry Planet. The burger itself is called Range Free Burger, which I think is the cutest name. Instead of free range, it's range free. And their burgers are showing up in places all around. We've got a couple places here in Seattle that are selling them, and it's probably the best tasting burger I think I've ever had. I mean, hands down. And so anyway, I encourage people to look for those kind of products because they are in the freezer section of every grocery store, and they are popping up in restaurants all over as well. We have a Yard House restaurant here, which I know is a chain. I think you guys have it on the East Coast too, but it's the Yard House, and they have an entire section of Gardein, which, you know, they have the chicken fingers, and you know, and I'm telling you, I don't think that people would know the difference. If you were just given a plate of that, it's so good. Even if you did know the difference, it's so good, and it's so much better for the planet and the animals and your health. I think we're really on the verge of making huge changes. I mean, every day in our work, and you know, I think it's just going to take a little bit more time, and we're there. It's happening. But so for people who really long for that meat taste, there are so many products out there. Just go to the grocery store and try. If you know, you're not going to like everything. Field Roast puts out, in my opinion, the best hot dog. That is amazing. We sell it here. They sell it here at the stadium, the baseball stadium here in Seattle, and it's very popular. They only have a couple stations where they sell it, and it's always, the line is so long. They're really popular. They're very good. But, you know, so you're not like every product, but try different ones. And then for people who are trying to kind of cut out those processed foods, there are so many recipes that incorporate like chickpeas and lentils and vegetables instead of traditional recipes with meat. Like there is, I don't know if you've heard of jackfruit, which is being used now as like a
had it for lunch today.
You did?
Oh,
yes,
oh yeah, Whole Foods makes a great barbecue jackfruit.
Really?
Like dish. Oh, that's what I had for lunch today. Oh yeah.
I'm going to see if my Whole Foods has that, because I've made it before, and it's such a great, who thought of that? Who thought to use jackfruit in barbecue and make a pulled pork? Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
but there are so many healthy options that there really is no lack of options out there for people who are interested. So, you know, our website has tons of recipes. Like I said, it's humanesociety.org, and then /Meatless Monday, or forwardfood.org has tons of recipes as well. But there's lots of books out there too that have lots of recipes. And I think you talked to Christy about her book that is coming out next week. I encourage everyone to look into that, because she also has a ton of recipes in her book, which is called Meatless, and it comes out next week, a couple weeks. But
I can't wait. I've already done that. I went to Amazon, did the pre-order, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I made something last night from her book because I got a sneak preview, and it was stuffed shells. Yeah, I know. Well, I got the in. You know, she's my boss.
You do. Guys, got the inside track. Yeah, you and Paul McCartney. I mean, she's sending that thing over to me. I know. I'm reading off this, and I'm like. And she sent me over, you know, the excerpt and all like that. And I'm like, I'm reading it. I'm like, wait a minute. That's Paul McCartney. I'm like, Paul McCartney's read her book. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I can't wait to see it. That is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad kind of what you were just talking about as well, because I get a lot of people that ask me sometimes about, you know, vegan plant-based food that is, quote, processed and versus like raw. And I'll tell people, there is, of course, a difference. And yes, I mean, I think, you know, you could look at it to where maybe where do you want to be in, quote, the end, if you want, quote, optimal. Yeah, it's like raw and like, you know, stuff. However, I'm glad you brought it up, because I tell people, too, it's kind of one of those things in life, meet people where they're at. And you don't have to go, I tell people, you know, it's up to people's individual taste, but I'm telling people, you don't have to go immediately all in straight raw. You know, you know, especially if it's one of those things you just feel like the taste and everything will be a challenge. Nowadays, like you were just rattling off, there's so many things that are vegan plant-based that taste phenomenal, sometimes mimic what people may be used to that they may have been eating the last 20, 30, 40, whatever years that help them, you know, make the change. And again, you know,
you're right. They're so right. And so some people, you're right, really want to be healthier and probably would not want the processed, you know, faux meats. But it can be a really good bridge. That's how I went to a talk one time by Dr. Neil Bernard, who is the founder of PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And he said that faux meats and you know, like fake chicken or, fake beef crumble can be a really good bridge to get people just to be open to plant-based eating. And then you can start incorporating healthier options too. Eat more vegetables, keep the meat or faux meat to the side, and, eating better and better. And then just kind of make it, like you said, a gradual process.
That's awesome. I agree so much. Well, Miss Amy, it's been awesome talking with you.
Well, it's been great talking with you, Mike. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
No, this has been fun. And so, I guess, I'll be near the back of the line after, you and Paul McCartney on getting Christy's book. So, maybe someday, the commoners will get a copy of the cool book.
Yes, March 7th.
Well, listen, thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch, and I'm going to put your information in the show notes for everybody, and I know I speak for everybody. I really appreciate the knowledge and definitely your passion and enthusiasm for what you do. So thank you for the work you do for the Humane Society as well.
Oh, well, that's very nice. Thank you, Mike, for getting the word out there and letting us, have that opportunity to talk. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. And let me know when you're in Seattle. I will definitely make an entire batch of meringue for you.
That's awesome. It's going to be Meringue Monday.
Amy Webster, everybody. Amy, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. Awesome talking to you. Had a blast. Appreciate so much you sharing everything. I never would have thought I was going to learn about meringue. But see, you always learn something new on this show. Meringue can be made from chickpeas, the many uses of chickpeas, and aquafaba. It's just a fun word to say. Loved hearing about the free culinary training that you guys are providing in schools to the Humane Society. I think that is awesome. I mean, the training, I think, is one of the linchpins because, a lot of times in programs, there's so much thought and emphasis on let's just get in. And it's a lot of times about, the implementation and the launch of things. And the fact that, there's the forward thinking to say, let's also make sure that this just, goes off as best it can when it launches. And to have these chefs come in and train their staff so that the meals, are very tasty. Because we all know that's important, especially in these places where these institutions where it's a new thing. They should the schools, the hospitals, and other places. That is awesome. I mean, I just love that idea about, hey, let's, not miss anything, including making sure we train the staff how to prepare and how to make sure they're very, tasty. So that's key. Also, everybody, like we were talking, you can go to places, and I'll have these in the show notes, don't worry, but like humanesociety.org/Meatless Monday, as well as forwardfood.org. A lot of great information there, even great recipes and all like that. Plus, like she said, information there for those of you listening to this that might even have institutions that you're trying to get inside. There's information there that can help you. And also, like she said, she was kind enough to give out her email address, amywebster@humanesociety.org. So that way, hey, in case, you've got an organization that you want to refer and just, kind of pass that along, please do. Because again, Amy, like she said, she'll help get, the right person in the right place, started on helping you out with that. So thank you so much for that. You heard us talking about our friend Christy Middleton. Check out her book, Meatless. Again, the book just came out. I can't wait to read it. Like I told you there, I pre-ordered mine. I'm waiting for any day now for that thing to arrive. I'm down there questioning the mailman every day. Where is my copy? So I can't wait myself to get that. And, of course, like we said, it's got to go the rounds, I guess, some other people such as, people, I don't know, maybe like, Paul McCartney, people like that are going to get it first. Seriously, though, it was great, again, being able to share all this with you. That's why I do this. I want to share. And in turn, I'll ask is that you share. Share this with other people. Share the podcast with other people. Share the blog posts on the website. Everything can be found, podcast, blogs, everything at VeganTourGuide.com. And also you can find me on Facebook, Vegan Tour Guide, Instagram, Twitter. Again, everything is Vegan Tour Guide. VeganTourGuide@gmail.com for your email. Read them all, answer them all. Love to hear your feedback and comments and even suggestions for people to come on the show. Always want to do that because, again, I want to bring people on that have a unique, journey and story to tell that helps everyone relate and know that this isn't, like I've said before, the plant-based vegan, lifestyle is not just for like one person or anything like that. It's for everybody. And that's why I want to keep reaching more and more people and having more and more people on the show because, that lets everyone know they can identify with somebody. And I hear that more and more, that, I identify with that person. I love hearing that, because that's what it's all about. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, also visit your local meetups. Looking for your local meetups, in your area, for like, plant-based, meetups, vegan meetups, Humane Society. Check those out, get involved in those. Look for some of your local veg fests and even some of the bigger, national conferences as well. Send me a message. Let me know you're going to be at some. I'll let you know if I'm going to be there myself. Definitely looking forward to meeting a bunch of you that listen to this. Thank you so much again for listening. For those of you first time, hey, come on back. We got some more stuff coming. Go check out some of the previous episodes. As always, want to give a shout out to Pat Flynn for the information and inspiration on putting together the podcast, as well as to bensound.com for the use of audio. And hey, until next time, everybody, live Pura Vida.